So let's assume this is our physical host on which we want to install our esxi. So let's say I have multiple NICs available. I think 2 is enough. It is as simple as you are installing your Microsoft Windows.
Okay.
It will just like it will load the installer just like that, and we will press some. We will give some input, and that's it.
So for all the version, it is the same step.
Yes,
Or
it is
we
the
have...
same. It is the same. So that's why VMware is so famous. That it is so easy to install, so easy to maintain, and not so easy to troubleshoot, I must say. when the
Okay.
things are messed up, like everything is all the communication is done through SOAP requests and using the certificates, and when they
Okay.
are expired, so it's a real mess if the setup is complicated. Like if you have many components, if it's VCenter and esxi, it's fine. But if you have nsx there, if you have vcloud director there, if you have log inside there, if you have I mean, there are a lot of components. So they are all integrated through those certificates for secure
Okay.
communication. And it's a real mess if the certificates are expired and you have ignored them. Otherwise, it is very simple to use and maintain. So like that, we will be having at least three nodes, physical nodes, and we will install esxi on every one of them.
Okay.
So till it is installing and till it is giving something,
Not
we are
available.
we are freezing the disk. Do you know we have VMDK files? What are the VMDK files? Let's go in some folder where our VMs are running. Okay, I have a lot of them. So let's open this VM. So this is NVRAM. Can I zoom it a bit? Then there will be yes. So this is our NVRAM. So the RAM is stored in this file. This is our VMDK. Okay. VMDK is what? It is the hard disk file. It is
Virtual machine disk.
Yes, it is virtual machine disk. It's the hard disk which is on which the data is written, either on the local storage or on the remote storage. In production environment, it will always be written on remote storage unless it is a vSAN. So it will be there on a physical storage somewhere remote. So and that remote share is available to all the hosts. So it doesn't matter that your VM is created on one host. If it is rebooted or migrated to other host, the data is still there. The advantage is, of course, the data is always there. And when we are doing the vMotion, I told you the vMotion, that on the fly, your machine can hop from one physical server to another physical server without losing any data, any connectivity, any state. And how it is done is the data is already there on a shared storage. So the only thing which migrates is the memory. The memory is mostly for a small VM, it is what, like 1 gigs. And if the connectivity is 10 gigs, so it will take a second to copy the memory in another host or in another physical node, and it will start running from there, and from this host it will be unregistered. So that's how the motion works due to the shared storage. So let's go back to our machine. Can you see the screen?
Yeah.
Enter. Yes. Continue. F11. Accept the agreement. It's scanning for the available devices. So as you can see, I have attached a 200 GB storage to it. So I am selecting that, and if I had remote storage is available, I can install on the remote storage. But normally it is done on local storage, but it can be done on remote storage. So the keyboard type is default, and I can define any passwords here. The install is F11 install. So now it has started installing ESXi, and that's it, Habib.
Okay.
The installation is done. It is no big deal. Okay, when setting vCenter, I have tried to set it up here. I was not able to do it because of the specs of my laptop. But I can tell you there are a few steps before installing the vCenter. And what is a vCenter? It's a management tool to manage your multiple physical ESXi servers. Plus,
Okay.
vMotion is done when vCenter is available.
Okay.
vCenter can push the memory from here to there. Your storage will be moved from one physical data store to another physical data store. So all these functionalities are achieved when you have vCenter installed.
Okay. So vCenter will be controlling, will be sitting on top of all the VMs, right? Or is it
It
under
is it.
VM?
vCenter is deployed on a VM.
Okay.
I can run the installer and I can show you the basic steps, but I cannot. It will take maybe more than 2 hours on this machine.
Mhm.
But I can tell you the requirements, how you can install it, and I can make a video on some
Yeah,
other
that will be
laptop, and
helpful.
I can share it with you. So the
Okay.
most important thing is before installing any VMware component, you should have NTP installed. Anybody
Okay.
know what is NTP?
Network traffic protocol, network
Network
transfer
time?
protocol,
No, time protocol.
time protocol. Okay.
Yes, because every host, physical host, your ESXi servers, your vCenter, and your DNS machines, they should have the exact same time, and that is controlled through NTP server. So first of all, you should have, okay, remove the installation media before rebooting, enter reboot. So I was telling before installing vCenter, first you should have NTP server. NTP server, you can set it up on Windows, you can set it up on Linux. It's very easy. Then you need to configure your DNS. If you want to resolve the IP address that this IP belongs to this domain and this domain belongs to this IP, it is actually forward and reverse lookup. So we should
Okay.
consider, whenever we do the DNS configuration, we always we should do the both mappings. If we give DNS the domain name, it should provide you the IP address. If you give the provide DNS server the IP address, it should give you the domain name. So that's a pointer record. We call it the PTR or the pointer record.
Okay.
So your domain name, okay, it is back. So you should have your domain name set up, like you can call your vCenter as myvcenter.com. So first setup NTP, second setup DNS server, and you should know a static IP which you will assign to your vCenter server, and then rest is easy. Okay, I will do F2 to customize. As you can see, so this is done. ESXi is done. So on the console, you just can what you can do is you can change your password. You can configure your management network. So if you need to provide the VLAN ID, you can do it from here, IPv4 address and DNS configuration. That's it, nothing more. Plus, you can restart your management network. In testing, you can do some things that either you want to test if the network is reachable. So you can test some other IP address like 192.168.16. Maybe 129. So everything is reachable. 129 is our NFS server.
Okay.
And that's it. You cannot do anything from here. So from DHCP, I am assigned IP address 192.168.16.131. So let's go on 192.168.16.131. So if you don't have vCenter installed, you will manage it from here. You have no virtual machines, you have only default data store, and you have just the default networking port group. You have so these things are configured on our switches. So let's say we have separate VLAN for our web traffic, and we can have a different VLAN for our database traffic, and we can put firewall in between those two networks. And there can be another network on our firewall which we can call the demilitarized zone or DMZ zone. So the traffic will hit the DMZ. From DMZ, it will go to our web server. So only port 80 or port 443 is allowed to the application. And when the request is landed on the application wants to connect to database. Database is placed in some other VLAN on some other network. So on firewall, we can define if the database is MySQL, only port 3306 is allowed to go on that network. So right now we are in default VLAN and we don't have any firewall available. So our web server security and traffic shaping. You can limit the bandwidth on your port group. We can do the load balancing, but let's see. Our web server is attached to our physical NIC 0. If I want to change it, we can add a switch. The switch name could be databases, and we can select the NIC available. And this NIC will be connected to this database switch, and all the VMs connected to this database switch will be connected to your physical NIC, and that physical NIC will be connected to your physical switch. So this will all be the same network. So this is our database switch. And if we want to create a virtual machine, let's say create a virtual machine, and the name is my database, and it is the compatibility version. Your VM will be compatible with ESXi older versions like 6.5, 5.5, 4. Whatever, or you want to do it that it should run with ESXi 7.0 update to virtual machines. If you copy this machine to the older setup, then it will create some issues. So you should know on which environment your machine should run. So I am setting the base version 7.0 so that it can run with 7.0, 7.1, and anything. I can say it is Linux and CentOS 7. I don't have another data store right now, so I will install it here. And I will be assigning it any number of CPUs, hard disk. I explained in the start what is a thin provisioning. So what's a thin provisioning? Can anyone tell me? Thin, thick, with lazy zeroed and eagerly zeroed. Please, anyone can explain it? This is the repetition. Okay, thin provisioning is like, yes, Mohsin, you are.
No, I remember.
Yes.
Yeah. It's coming, but I cannot able to.
Okay, I can explain it.
It will, so for the thin
Habib?
provisioning, yeah, it won't take all the allocated space, but only like whatever is being used.
Like whatever is being written on the disk is written on the physical media. So it is thin provisioning. And thick provision, lazy zeroed is like you reclaim
lazy zero will be filled with zeros, right?
No.
Whatever
Lazy
like
zero,
the extra space will be
it will claim
by...
yes, it will claim all the space right now.
Yeah.
And the eagerly zeroed is you write zeros on everything. So it will take a lot of time, because if you have 1 terabyte disk, so it will write 1 terabyte of zeros there. So it will take a lot of time to format. So shares, we can define the shares. If it is a database, we should give high IOS share to this machine. If it is FTP server, maybe we should give them the lower IOS, because database needs more input output. So you have the same storage available, which has some, let's say, maximum IOS of 100. I mean, 100 input output operations can be performed. So these 100 input output operations will be divided among all the VMs which are residing on that shared data store. So we can control on which VM is our priority VM. So I can give it more shares, or to which VM we will give the less shares. We can prioritize it like that. And then the CD-ROM, I mean, I don't have any ISO available. We can upload any ISO, but I am not doing it now because it will take some time. Let's see if I have a very small minimum ISO available. Okay, I have minimal ISO available. So we can upload our ISO to our data store, and then we can call it from there. Until it is uploaded, I can show you how you can install esxi. I'm multitasking so that. So I have installer available. Yep. It is very easy to install. Just you need to set up the DNS and NTP. How NTP is configured, let's see that. Okay, we will wait for the upload to complete. So this is my ISO image for VCSA, and it is available on your VMware portal if you have account. And we were discussing the snapshots and backup. So a snapshot is freezing the disk, I was telling you. So if you freeze a disk, then okay, let's do it practically. So I have one NFS, and I can where is the VMware workstation? And I can do the snapshot. Take snapshot. I can name it anything, but let's do the snapshot. And if I do, I am in root, so touch abc.txt. Let's go to File Explorer. And the machine was CentOS 7 NFS. CentOS 7 NFS. Your 0 VMDK, this is your 001.vmdk. So this file system is freezed, and all the changes will be, this is 0.vmdk, this is 1.vmdk. This file system is freezed on this stage, another disk is created, and all the data will be written on this disk. If you take another screenshot, then this and this will freeze, and another VMDK will be created, and all the data what is written on the VM will start your VM will start writing on another VMDK file. So this is snapshot, but snapshot is a temporary freezing of space. We cannot use it as a backup mechanism. What you can say is you cannot use it as a backup mechanism, because when the snapshot starts growing, it is very difficult to merge them. So it is always a best practice that when you do a snapshot, you do your working, whatever you are testing, and then when the setup is done, your testing is done, either you roll back. If it is not successful, if it is successful, you delete that snapshot. We do not retain snapshots for very long. It will eventually give you a lot of problems. So I have selected the CentOS machine. The ISO is uploaded, and next, and finish. So to our VM, what we can say is, this is my database VM. Edit settings. And what we can do is, we can, okay, now our web server is attached to, I have created a view networking. Actually, I am used to work with the VCenter server. Is working with ESI is a bit virtual switch. Yes, virtual switch databases, and the port group is, I can call it the same. Yes. So port group databases is connected to our virtual switch databases. So now I can say is go to the virtual machine, edit settings, and why the other one is not available? Database port group is available. Yes. What's wrong? Okay, it is there. So let's see our networking. This is our databases. So you can see if I power on this virtual machine, first let's power on this virtual machine. So this my database virtual machine is connected to this virtual switch. Let's say if I have another database 2, let's do it Linux CentOS 7 next, the same data store, and let's don't do anything else, and I will just select the network. Okay, database is finished. So I have now 2 VMs. Let's power it on and go back to our databases. Switch. So now 2 virtual machines are connected to this switch, and that is eventually connected to your physical NIC 1, which will be connected to your physical switch. And from there, it can go to the firewall, and from there, it can go to the internet if you want it. But the databases don't go to internet, so you can have one NIC for databases. You can have another NIC for applications. If I need to do the vMotion, I have to make this physical NIC available with the same name on our other node, on our physical host, on other physical host, so that I can migrate my VM from this host to the other host. There should be the network. This database network should be available there, so that if my VM is going from this machine to the other physical machine, this network should be available. Otherwise, it will not communicate with anything. So physical connectivity or the name of the switches should be the same. But if you have 100 hosts,
Okay.
it is very difficult that you create the same network on 100 hosts. If you add another network, you have to add it on all other 100 nodes. So for that, there is a concept of distributed switch.
Okay.
Maybe
So I guess
I don't have the luxury to display that concept, but I can tell you how
yeah.
vCenter is installed. So it is just like, where's the installer? This is the installer, and so just click install, deploy vCenter, accept the agreement, and it will be deployed on some ESXi host. So what is our ESXi host? 192.168.1.6.131. ESX131. The username credentials we already know. Okay. Set the password for vCenter server. Okay, you can define it should be tiny, it should be small, it should be medium, large, extra large. So if you select small, it will use 2 CPUs, 19 gigs of RAM, this much storage, and physical 100 host can be managed through this size and up to 1000 VMs. If you go with medium, large, extra large, so the memory requirement increase, so is the storages, so are the CPUs. But you can manage up to 35,000 VMs through this vCenter. So let's go with small. Okay. Yes. I don't have 19 gigs of memory available.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's
That
actually.
means I think we can only do it on cloud because generally we don't have the memory.
Give me a minute. Let's shut down this host. Okay, just power it off. And I have another node, this one. Actually, I have a habit of pausing a VM, so sometimes it gives the issue. So this IP is 130. Let's see if 130 is responding. Yes, it is responding. So what I can do is I can run the installer again. Install. Next. Accept the agreement. Next. The IP is now 130. Password is same name is available there. So I can have a different, and I can go with the installation. Okay. I have two data stores available. Data store 1 and data store VMware. Why I have two data stores available? Because this NFS. See, so this data store VMware is exported to this physical host 192.168.116.130. So it is available here. So if I do the installation on this data store, it will be actually installed on the remote share, not the local share. Okay. So if I do, okay, what is the network you want to connect? What will be the IPv4 version? What will be the static IP? Fully qualified domain will be, let's say, myvc01.com. And this should be defined and resolvable in your DNS. And the IP address can be 192.168.16.100. Subnet mask can be 255.255.255.0. Default gateway can be 192.168.16.2 because it is the default gateway. And you will tell your DNS server IP here, whatever your DNS server IP is. Let's say it's 50. And that's it. It will deploy a virtual machine on your esxi. It will boot it. It will do some further configurations, and on the next stage, you will be asked to provide the NTP settings and your username password, because we have provided the root password, but the web password which are at administrator at vsphere.local domain. I can give you the demo after recording it on my cloud machine, but on the laptop it will take too much time, and yet you just do it. And if I go into the vCenter, I have two virtual machines. This is the second vCenter which I just and you can see it has so many hard disks attached to it. Hard disk 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So it is now deploying the vCenter. And if I go to 192.168.130 dot, sorry, 16.129, I can change the display size. So this is our VMware vCenter 2. So it is doing what it is doing. So if I do du -h, 837 MB is already written, 904 MB is written, 940 MB. So it is deploying it on the remote storage. And the remote storage can be the fiber channel SAN, it can be the vSAN, it can be fiber channel over Ethernet, or it can be NFS, it can be isxi, whatever your physical device is using, whatever protocol that device is using, the shared storage, you can do it. You can attach it with this VMware.